welcome to Liz Rocks and Stuff. I'm Liz, and it's time for episode 102 of What's in My Tumbler. We are going to start off with the Rainbow Quartz. This is the control batch of my foamy soap experiment. And I'm just going to go ahead and say I said it before. I was very concerned that these barrels were not very full and that was going to cause the rocks to be bruised, and I'm going to say I was right. But the point of this experiment was not to get perfectly polished rocks necessarily, but it was to see if there is a difference between the rocks that are tumbled with foam and those that are tumbled without. And they were mostly the same amount full, but I didn't want to introduce media into the experiment and cause that to be... People are weird. I'm going to have people that are upset that I didn't put media in and people that are upset that I did, or that I... whatever. You can't make people happy. I did this the way I wanted to do it. So I'm going to go and put this through a burnishing cycle. And then we are going to get it rinsed off again. I'm having some issues with my tumblers, by the way, so I'll talk more about it with Multitudinal, but I'm probably going to have to replace the motors in at least one of my tumblers. So we'll see how that affects future videos. It probably shouldn't, but anyway. Get that all rinsed off, and now I'm just going to show, it's kind of chopped up and weird, but I'm sorting these out, and across the top is going to be the control rainbow batch, and then after I do the foamy rinsing and all of that, they're going to go across the bottom. I filmed this part at the same time. I'm just cutting it up, but I will show the dried off version of what these look like at the end of this segment. So if you want to see that, but the comparison and side-by-side shots are all with foamy. So if you want to see the individual dried off rocks, you can wait until foamy, but I will show the whole batch dried off at the end of this sorting. I'm trying to sort them by color. It's a little difficult because they're all different sizes and things, but you can tell kind of here that they are pretty banged up. And then this is kind of the finish. They are very, very bruised. I'm not surprised. These barrels were just barely over half full, so I'm not personally surprised that they got banged up, but we're going to fix it. It's all right. All right, so now we've got foamy, and I will say both of these batches had a lot of froth in them, but this one had more like open, loose foam, as opposed to the rainbow that had a more closed, smaller bubbled foam. And I don't know if that makes sense to anybody or if anybody has an idea of why that would be. I just found that interesting, that they both got the same amount of polish and the same amount of borax, but they reacted differently to it. But anyway, so we got that all rinsed off. We're going to put it into a burnishing cycle with some borax. I did these probably not as long as I normally do because my day yesterday was weird. But we're going to get these all rinsed off now after the burnishing cycle. And then I'm going to go ahead and lay them out in the same order with the regular rainbow quartz. All right, now that that is all sorted out, we are going to try and fix the colors. It bugged me that the colors were in the wrong, some of the like small little chips were in the wrong place. So I fixed that. And then we're going to get these all dried off. And I'm going to show you kind of, first I'm going to show you each of the individual rainbow and then the foamy rainbow. And then I'm going to show you side-by-side comparisons of fully dried off rocks. So you can see there's some shine on them. It's just the edges that are really bruised. Like it's typical. That's where you're going to bruise, is on the edges. Otherwise, they are pretty shiny and nice, but I don't I don't like I don't like all the bruising on them, so we're not going to do that anymore. So this is now the foamy rainbow ones. They really are just the same amount of shiny, in my opinion. I don't see much of a difference between these two. Now that is just for me. In fact, in this shot, it looks like the foamy one might be a little bit shinier, and maybe they have a little less damage to them. So, I probably will not continue to do foam just because it was kind of a pain. But somebody else might see that there's enough of a difference and it's not that big of a deal for them, so they do it. If you do it, I am a proponent of doing what works for you. If the way you tumble rocks makes you happy and you get the results you want, do it your way. I'm not going to tell people that my way is the only way and you have to do it that way. Not that kind of person. So they did get shiny, and they're bruised because there wasn't enough mass in the barrels. That's the only issue here. But it was kind of fun. All right, so multitudinal. What I'm going to say is when I put all 4 of my barrels on for their burnishing and soap cycles, they're in a closet. They're in a cabinet in my office where I work. But I somehow did not notice that one of my tumblers stopped tumbling. And it's been doing that. Like, I have to check it constantly to make sure that both of them are still running. And it's not being overloaded. It's just, I think the motor's going out on it. So I'm going to have to replace the motor in it. But that happened. And when I opened it up to see, did it at least get a decent amount of tumbling on it? Because I don't know how long it had been stopped. The soap hadn't even dissolved. So I ended up putting those 2 barrels onto my good tumbler. Probably also going to have to replace the motor in that one soon. And let them go overnight. So I finished Rainbow and Foamy Rainbow on day 1 of my filming, and then I had to finish Multitudinal and Glass on day 2 of my filming, which is not how I normally do things. I normally film everything in one day, which is why this is kind of crazy chaotic. But then I also didn't start up my 2 new barrels until after I did Rainbow and Foamy Rainbow, because I have to move my camera rig around and I didn't want to deal with that. So it's been a day or 2. But anyway, so I inspected all those to make sure nothing is chipped or broken. And now that's going to go into a soap cycle. Ended up being overnight. Also, I'm topping this up. I have new media that I need to tumble, but I never really need more media until stage 3. And you really shouldn't start it before stage 2 or after stage 2. So I need to just either tumble it for a while and knock the edges off, or just start adding it to my stage 2 barrels. But that's my problem with media, is that I get new media and I'm like, now I have to try and like find a way to start this, because I never need it until stage 3. But anyway, so yeah, now it went for its soap cycle. We are going to get it all rinsed off. Technical difficulties because I was doing this at a really weird time. And then we are going to get it all put back into the barrel and off into stage 3. So I had the 2 barrels were done this week. Then this is stage 3 and Glass is in stage 3. So that'll be 2 weeks that these 2 barrels will be done. And I need to film. I have a video. I got a rock haul from Rough Stone Rocks. So I'll show what I got from them. But I'll probably be trying to figure out what I'm going to do next. I have some rocks that I found in my backyard that are not like the river rocks from my rock beds that I've done before, but actual like buried in the dirt rocks that I think could be cool and interesting. They're probably just quartz, That's pretty much what I have around my house is quartz and granite. Um, but they're kind of cool looking. So I might start a batch of those soon, but they need to be cleaned as well. All right, so this is the glass. This is a mix of cathedral glass and a glass bowl that I broke, which actually ended up looking really cool once it tumbled. Like, I was not expecting it to be as cool looking as it is. But same thing as we did with Multitudinal. We're going to get it all rinsed off. And I am tumbling this mostly like I tumble my obsidian. I think I might skip the 3.5 stage and go straight from 3 to 4. Or maybe I'll go ahead and do a 3.5 stage. I don't know. I haven't really decided. I have a week to figure that out. But we'll see. This is my first time tumbling like glass and not just obsidian, which I need to redo my obsidian. I think I forgot to mention that after I tumbled all of that obsidian and it was all nice and pretty and it was great, my husband had pulled some of my rocks to take pictures of some of his products with, and the obsidian was one of the ones that he had pulled out, and they were sitting in their little boxes on a table, and they got knocked off, and the obsidian was on the bottom. So they fell off a table, and the obsidian hit the ground, and then a heavy box of rocks landed on top of them. So a lot of my obsidian is now broken, which is fine. It sucks, because it was all nice and pretty, but I just got to retumble it now. I just have to go through and see. A lot of them, even if they didn't break, they did scratch a bit. So I might just go ahead and retumble everything. But part of what I got from Roughtstone was some more obsidian, because I apparently love obsidian and will just tumble it forever and a day. Even though it takes forever to do. But be prepared that there's probably going to be more obsidian in the future. Anyway, so that's the glass going into a soap cycle after it was all sorted. And then after the soap cycle, which again was overnight, because having motor issues. I'm telling you what, it's been a week, and I was out of my house all weekend, and I am exhausted. This is not what I wanted to deal with this week. Anyway, we're going to get this all rinsed off, get it put back in the barrel, and then I am going to, because I have so much media in here, I did notice when I was rinsing off the stage 2 grit that it hadn't fully broken down, which happens when you have a bunch of media and not a bunch of rocks. And that's why I only put in like 1 tablespoon of grit when I'm doing glass that has a lot of media. That's this 50-50 ratio. So 1 tablespoon of stage 3 grit and a tablespoon of borax. And then this is off for a week. So it is almost ready. If I don't stop throwing things around. And finally, I have 2 new barrels. So what am I going to put in here? I think probably should have predicted this one. So all of the faucets from the 3rd subscription box is going in here. So that's Serape Jasper, and then the Leopard Skin Jasper, and Moroccan Striped Jasper is all going in here. And I'm probably not going to be able to tell the Moroccan Striped Jasper from the Serape Jasper when it's all done, but it'll be fine. And then I'm going to retumble the rainbow quartz. It's too pretty to not do it. It needs to be done. And I'm going to probably get all of this through to stage 2 and kind of do it like I did the obsidian, where I sort of do stages. But anyway, we're going to put some water in here. And then tablespoon of borax, 3 tablespoons of stage 1 grit. And these are off to go. So, no fun names this week, really. At least I don't think so. My husband rolled his eyes when I told him what I was going to call the rainbow batch. But he rolls his eyes at all of my batch names. But this one is not particularly weird for for me, I guess, given some of the names I've given my batches in the past. They crack me up, by the way. That's why I name my batches weird things. But we've got Fossick 3, obviously, for the Fossick rocks. And then this is Rainbow Reboot. And these are going to be done. So, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And thanks for listening to me just ramble for a bit. But appreciate everybody that listens to these very long videos that I make.